Hello neighbors, it's Brad here at eTrailer, and today I have Matt from CURT, and we are taking a look at some shock drop technology.
Yes.
What is that?
So shock drop, besides being a great term, is the technology that we came out with a couple years ago, and it's really the main goal of shock drop is to reduce the jerking and jarring that you feel when you tow. Obviously, when you're towing, you got thousands of pounds back there. That trailer hits a pothole. If you're on a bad road, that trailer's feeling it, and it comes right through the cab, and then you're feeling it. It affects, obviously, you sitting in the car. It affects the suspension. It can affect the brakes. You know, it can do a lot of damage to the vehicle. So shock drop is our effort to kind of reduce that and also reduce that noise that you're hearing while you're towing as well.
This essentially adds a little bit of suspension at a connection point, whereas, like you said, normally it's just metal to metal. And when you go to pull and it yanks things back, it clunks. And when you go to stop, it also does the same thing. So this eliminates that, or at least reduces it significantly. Yeah. How does it do it?
So the way that it works is the shock drop technology, it has a polyurethane isolator, and that's what we see right here in the rocker ball. It's the black part there. On our Rebellion right here, it's the black little isolator there, and then obviously it's the same with this gooseneck. And so what that does is that when it's connected and the trailer starts to have that jerking and jarring, the rocker ball will actually shift. So that shock drop isolator will absorb that, and then it won't let it go all through the hitch, through the truck as well.
So not only do we have a ball mount that obviously pivots, we have a ball that you can put on whatever existing ball mount you have, which also this rocks back and forth. It seems like this stays in place. It's got a plate here to make sure it doesn't go cattywampus.
Yes, exactly. So this one, we have both loaded versions, or you can load it yourself on an existing mount. And as you mentioned, it has a plate on there that keeps it secure, so we don't have to worry about it pivoting. Our Rebellion model is adjustable. It has a dual ball with both a 2-inch and a 2 5/16, so you can really make it as easy as possible. And then the gooseneck version as well fits in all of the CURT goosenecks. And we do fit in some competitors as well, as long as it matches the specs.
Now, once you pick these up, it's going to absorb that, but can you adjust it at all, or is it kind of fixed?
Sure, so it's fixed in terms of you don't have to do anything to it. You know, that isolator that absorbs all that jerking and jarring, that's always going to be the same throughout the products. It doesn't need any maintenance. You know, as I said, it's a rubber isolator, so we don't have airbags in there, we don't have bearings or anything like that. So all of the adjustment would come from like the Rebellion adjusting the height. It would come from the gooseneck versions where you can adjust, you know, how you're doing that.
Okay, so for applications on different vehicles, if I want to pick this up, we have 2-inch shank on this one.
Yes, 2-inch shank on the Rebellion. It has, as I mentioned, it's a dual ball, so it has a 2-inch and a 2 5/16. The difference is we have a 15K version, and we also have one that's rated for 20K as well.
Okay, and then so here on our rocker ball, we have a 2-inch.
Yes,
2-inch. Are there other ones available?
Yeah, we have 2-inch and then also 2 5/16. And then, as I mentioned, we have it both with mounts or like this, where it's just the ball by itself, and then you would mount it on an existing mount or anything like that. And if that's the case, when you do mount it on a prior mount, you know, we just recommend that you go whatever the lowest weight is, obviously.
Makes sense. Good rule of thumb for any towing, really. Yeah,
exactly.
Take the
lowest
in.
number just to be safe.
Yep. And then as far as gooseneck balls, application-wise, does it work with a little bit of everything, or?
Sure. So as I mentioned, we have this guy, which is the standard one, works with all of our gooseneck fittings, and then it can work with other companies as well, as long as the specs match. So there's a couple things that you need to do. Obviously, similar size in terms of shape. And then it has to have 2 inches from the bottom to the locking pin. So as long as you meet that criteria, you can use this guy in anything as well. And then we do also have a 5th wheel that utilizes that same technology called a crosswing. And then that one you can adjust the height as well on. So all the adjustments come from the products itself. You don't have any maintenance on the actual shock drop tech part of it.
Yeah, overall, I really like this because I'm a big suspension guy, and there's so much you can do to a truck. And even on your trailer, but that connection point is fixed. So if you can add suspension to that and it eliminates the shock throughout the vehicle, it's a game changer when towing. And you actually had a story, I believe, about someone that had it.
So when I first started and we first came out with this, I had a guy come up that's a big racer. So, you know, he's constantly loading up a truck on the weekend to take it up to the course, to the track. And he was telling me, hey, man, we got to talk about this. And initially my heart sank. I'm about to hear it from this guy. And he said that the Rebellion in particular literally changed his towing experience. It took the drive longer because he was just mirror checking the entire time, even pulled over once to make sure everything was connected because he felt like he had lost that trailer. You know, this is a guy that had done it hundreds of times in his life with the same weight, same load, same everything. And then that just the only thing he changed was this Rebellion right here, and that made a world of difference. So it made it not just a smoother process where he couldn't feel the trailer just pulling on him the whole time. His wife was sitting in the cab as well, and she said, hey, this is so much quieter. I can actually talk to you. I can hear the music. You know, it's definitely something that for that family in particular, that's going to be on the back of his truck for the rest of his life.
That's awesome. And that's something, until you're out towing a bunch, you don't really think of noise when choosing things. But once that noise is eliminated, you go, how did I ever do it without it?
Especially on something like this where it's heavy duty, chances are you're not towing for 10 minutes. You know, you're on the road for an hour, 2 hours, and that's when that stuff really builds up. So this really does its job in terms of eliminating both the motion and the noise for a much smoother and quieter experience.
Well, Matt, thanks for taking the time to give us a nice look at the CURT ShockDrop technology.
Perfect. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you.